welcome to People and Power. I'm Barbara Serra. On today's program, Thailand's tropical Gulag.
Abuses ranged from applying electric shocks to the genitals, to waterboarding, to simulated drowning, to placing of plastic bags over one's head.
Thailand is predominantly a Buddhist country, but the majority of people in its three southernmost provinces, that's Pattani, Yala and Narathiwat, are Muslims and ethnically Malay in origin. For the best part of a century, heavy-handed efforts to integrate them into the wider Thai state have caused resentment and sometimes even open rebellion. This situation worsened markedly in 2001 when efforts by Thailand's then Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra to expand his political influence in the south infuriated separatists. They responded with attacks on the Thai military and state employees, which in turn provoked a crackdown by the authorities. By 2005, the army had imposed martial law on the southern provinces, and a loose network of separatist groups were waging a brutal guerrilla war. Since then, nearly 4,500 people, mostly civilians, have been killed in tit-for-tat attacks, and hundreds of people have been arrested and detained on suspicion of links to the insurgency. More recently, the Thai government has been pursuing a so-called hearts and minds strategy to try to win the southern populace over. But the suspicious death of one of those detainees at an infamous army base has rekindled allegations from human rights groups that Thailand's military has been torturing prisoners. Orlando de Guzman has been investigating the death of Suleiman Naisa, just one of the many casualties of this conflict. A quick warning, you may find that some of the images in his film disturbing.
Yo soy todo polaco. Duk lagu aku tu polaco, bukan terduk sendak senen doa, takut aku. Saya mahu yo mau jadi wujud mau takut, yo main enggak.
The death of Sulaiman resonate widespread perception among the Muslims that if you are taken away by Thai security forces, by Thai police, that could be the last day of your life.
ต้องยึดหลักสากลในการปฏิบัตินั้นเรายืนยันว่าเราไม่ได้ทำเช่นนั้นแล้วโดยเฉพาะว่าเราเองเราก็เป็นคนไทยเราเลยเห็นพี่น้อง3จังหวัดก็เป็นคนไทยเหมือนกันเพียงแต่เขาแตกต่างทางด้านความเชื่อหรือแตกต่างในเรื่องของเรื่องเชื้อชาติของเขาซึ่งเราเห็นทุกคนเป็นคนไทยท่านทหารไม่ได้คิดว่าคนกลุ่มพวกนี้เป็นอริราชศัตรูแน่นอนครับ
If you're Muslim, simply by being suspected of being insurgents, the worst thing could happen to you. You could be abducted, you could be disappeared, you could be tortured, you could be killed, no question asked, and there will be no justice.
Tak tahu tu tak tahu, tak ada dia duduk jadi duduk biasa semua tak tahu pokok kapang duk gitu dia tu.
Dia tak nak mengaji, sia pun tak, Melayu pun tak. Ada dak kedua, sia 45 yang Melayu pun tak kata apa hari je. Habis kita tu tak boleh jadi dia tu tak boleh nak tak tahu lah. Dia tak ada mengaji, dia tak reti sia kau dah dengar sikit-sikit gitu. Kalau nak kata dia nak tulis tu tak boleh lasau. Kau dah dengar kecek tu bolehlah sikit-sikit. Jawab. Kalau dia nak nulis tu tak boleh lasau.
On the 22nd of May 2010, the Royal Thai Army detained Sulaiman Naisa on suspicion of being an insurgent. He was taken to the military's main detention centre in Pattani province, a sprawling army base known as Insurgent.
For people in the south, Insurgent is one of the terrifying terms, terrifying word, you know, because for Muslims, they know that anything could happen to them.
Insurgent's notoriety was sealed in 2004 after a demonstration at a town called Takbai. There, hundreds of unarmed Muslims gathered outside a police station to protest the arrest of some villagers. soldiers and police opened fire, killing 7 people. Then hundreds of men and boys were beaten, tied up and stacked onto army trucks, sometimes 4 or 5 deep. By the time the trucks arrived at Insurgent Army Base, 78 men had been suffocated or crushed to death. No soldier was punished for these deaths, which radicalized a whole new generation of insurgents. At Insurgent, Sulaiman Nessa was shuttled between this cell and a separate interrogation room at the base. The military claimed that he quickly confessed to his role in insurgent attacks, which had killed 9 people. The military also claimed he had hidden some weapons, and so, 2 days before he died, soldiers escorted Sulaiman back to his home to look for them.
Kita kata buku berat dah lah, ya buat hari tu. Bahasa berat dah lah kita pun. Kita tak boleh tengok tu, kita bahasa berat halu lah. Bahasa bimbang benar, dah tak agak dah dia. Dia tak agak muka dia mau buat hari tu hok teruk dah kalinya. Dia tak agak, dia tak ada jalan pun buat itu dah. Kok gi. Pas bawa kita gi nak kerabat tu, buat lari tu duduk le kereta dah tak boleh tengok, tak boleh kecek kita.
When no weapons were found, Sulaiman was taken back to the army base. 2 days later, Sulaiman's father got a phone call. His son was dead. The army claimed he had tied a towel to the bars of his cell and hanged himself.
Sulaiman tu mau. Pamek itu bergelik apa? Itu bergelik geno. Kata Sulaiman tak ada. Sulaiman telah meninggal dunia.
Sulaiman's father went to Insurgent to retrieve his son's body. The army led him to cell number 2.
Duk ratus lagi lah, tak nak buat dak lah. Sebab kaya dia nak pergi dak umur lah. Mula-mula dia pesak dak noneng itu dia balik pusing itu. Lepas dia buat tu ubah dia balik itu pula. Pesak gitu. Luka wah kata luka situ luka sini tu, kita tengok situ. Balik bawah pada maluwe tu dia ada luka. Situ dia darah tak sejak dah buat kelak. Dah buat kelak pada rumah tu. Waktu dia dia puak bomo dalam kaun kata dia kata ketik sumuk tu. Darah ketik sumuk. Sumuk kata sumuk sana ketik buat kelak.
Kau dia kelik tu dia tak agak dah tu. Pas ni dengan siapa patik ni semua banyak hari dah hita tu dah tu. Dia dok sang banyak hari dah ni.
Army and police doctors examined Sulaiman's body, but the only way to know for sure how he died was to conduct an autopsy. His parents didn't want one.
Orang kita ni dak dah itu mati kan nak taruh lah.
Ada kita pun kita fikir kata nak lawan kerajaan tu kita tak agak dah kata sipai itu lah dak fikir lagu tu je.
It is unfortunate that the family of Sulaiman did not agree with forensic examination. So we don't really know for sure what had happened to him.
Was Sulaiman killed, or did he kill himself? Without an autopsy and a credible investigation, it is impossible to say. But the fact remains that allegations of torture have dogged the Thai military for years.
In the 2 months prior to Sulaiman's death, Amnesty International received 8 reports of alleged torture in southern Thailand, 6 of which were from Insurgent, at least 6 of which were from an Insurgent military base. The other 2, it wasn't clear exactly where the individuals had been detained, or at least where the torture had taken place. But that was alarming enough, and that was, of course, prior to the ultimate death in custody of Sulaiman himself.
Detaining and interrogating suspects is a central part of the Thai army's strategy to crush the insurgency. But hunting for an enemy which shelters among an insular and mistrustful population isn't easy. And so the army says it is trying to show a friendlier face. This is General Pichet Visayajon, who until recently commanded all forces in southern Thailand.
When the commander comes, everybody come to see and meet him and talk to him. It's like the father and family.
General Pichet gave us a guided tour of the military programs he claims are winning the hearts and minds of local Muslims. This land was annexed by Thailand a century ago. Muslims here have long resented being ruled by governments in the faraway Thai capital of Bangkok. The most recent conflict is especially brutal. The insurgents have killed school teachers, health workers and government officials, Buddhist and Muslim alike. There are now 30,000 troops here, but even the Thai army admits that this conflict cannot be won by military force alone. That's one reason why General Pichet puts so much faith in his Hearts and Minds program. We visit the General's agricultural training school, where he says his soldiers teach Muslims how to be better farmers.
Now we have more rice, we have more animal, we have more fish, and we have more friends. And the people come to be our side, not like in the past year. They afraid of military, but now no, we break the mistrust. They trust us more and more.
At another military base, local people are given free dental treatment. General Pichet's soldiers are also teaching classes at remote schools in violence-plagued areas.
ในช่วงแรกๆที่เรามีโครงการครูช่วยสอนก็จะแต่งชุดเครื่องแบบทหารอย่างเงี้ยครับแต่ว่าเมื่อสอนไปเราคิดว่าเราควรลดอะไรลักษณะคือควรจะแต่งกายให้รู้สึกเป็นกันเองกับนักเรียนมากขึ้นก็เลยเปลี่ยนจากเครื่องแบบชุดฝึก
This is our philosophy for working here in the deep south to winning heart and mind of the people. We never force the people to be our side, but they come here. Yeah, we live like the family and we solve the problem with love.
ใครมองไม่เห็นผมบ้างครับพยายามเข้าครับนับ1นับ2นับ3ครับ
We think that we are in the family. It's like one of the family, like a teenage. Maybe sometimes they naughty.
So the Southerners are maybe a little bit naughty sometimes.
Yes, sometimes it's like in your family. You naughty. Have you been?
For General Pichet, his Hearts and Minds programs are proof that he cares for local people. Sulaiman's death is a distraction.
ก็การเสียชีวิตเหล่านั้นเนี่ยบางทีเขาก็ทำตัวเขาเองเพราะว่าเจ้าหน้าที่คงไม่ไปทำร้ายหรอกเพราะว่าการใครที่ทำอย่างนี้ก็เสียมวลชนถูกไหมเขาไปทำร้ายตัวเขาเองเข้าไปอะไรดำเนินการจริงๆแล้วเนี่ยขณะนี้เราก็ได้มีให้อะไรกรรมการโดยเป็นภาคประชาชนนี้เข้าไปตรวจสอบ
There was one final stop on General Pichet's tour. A military intelligence officer was instructed to show us Sulaiman's cell at Insurgent Army Base. The Thai army calls this place the resort.
ไปให้เปิดห้องให้เขาดูไหมเดี๋ยวอาร์ตเข้าไปอธิบายเอาใคร This is this room is once what Sulaiman had been here once.
คิดว่าคงมีมูลเหตุจูงใจที่เขาต้องกระทำเช่นนั้นไปอาจจะเป็นเพราะว่าความเชื่อความศรัทธาตามหลักที่เขายึดถือถึงเมื่อเขาคิดว่าถ้าเกิดเขาเปิดเผยความลับของกลุ่มไปแล้วอาจจะทำให้เขาบาปหรืออาจจะทำร้ายขบวนเขาได้จึงทำให้เขาตัดสินใจตัดไฟแต่ต้นลมเพื่อไม่ให้ได้ชื่อว่าเป็นผู้ทรยศครับผมคงไม่พูดในรายละเอียดเพราะว่าเขาก็ตายไปแล้วนะครับเราคงไม่ไปทับถมเขาเพิ่มเติม
But an army press release issued the day after Suleiman's death makes some remarkable claims. It says that Suleiman's parents visited their son at the army base on the day before he died and gave him the towel he hanged himself with. The press release continues. They chatted for a while, then Suleiman crouched down and swept his parents' feet, as if to say goodbye. There is one problem with this story. Suleiman's parents weren't at the army base that day.
29 dek dia pergi dengan pupu dia. Kita tak ada pergi dah 29 tu masuk rompan dah.
Another witness disputes the army's claim that Suleiman was never tortured. This man was interrogated with Suleiman and other detainees. Fearing for his life, he spoke to us on condition we disguise his identity.
Masa kita duduk 20 gerbah. Semua bilik penuh dolak lah bilik tu. Duk bunyi lunak saya pak dibok dah. So pecah aju, kita pecah aju. Pecah baju. Banyak nak ngaku, saya ngaku lah. Bah kita tak nak ngaku lah, kita tak tahu lah. Lepas itu memang darah ni, kita tapal tu. Pas bawa pecah dong. Pecah dong. Pecah dong, agak palu luar, tengok nak berjabir luar. Berjabir tu kita lahir kulakar. Yang malah berjabir ni halus situ lagu bakar ni. Ada setengah tu suruh makan kecing suruh makan. Berbuang makan kecing. Ada tu budak acok.
Despite such testimony, the army insists that Suleiman was treated well. But photos show that the food his family had brought to the base was never eaten. One explanation is provided by the former detainee who managed to snatch a few words with Suleiman.
We found that Insurgent camp had very severe interrogation techniques, illegal interrogation techniques being used upon detainees.
Abuses ranged from applying electric shocks to the genitals, to waterboarding, to simulated drowning, to placing of plastic bags over one's head.
Severe beating, forced nudity, exposure to extreme temperature.
They're well documented not only here in Thailand, but certainly they were perhaps made most famous or most well known in the wake of Abu Ghraib and Camp X-ray in Iraq and Afghanistan, when that scandal broke vis-a-vis the United States. I believe it was in 2005. Some of the methods would mirror those methods.
Where do you learn your interrogation techniques from?
คือจากสองส่วนนะฮะจากส่วนที่เป็นโรงเรียนที่เปิดสอนกันอีกส่วนคือจากประสบการณ์ที่เราส่งต่อถ่ายทอดกันสืบต่อมาในหน่วยแต่ละหน่วยที่เขามีกระบวนการพวกนี้ครับ
Does the U.S. military teach you any interrogation techniques?
ไม่มีผมยืนยันว่าอันนี้เป็นปัญหาภายในบ้านเราแล้วเราคิดว่าเราแก้ได้
Of the dozens of people who have died in military custody in the past 7 years, one case stands out. This is the Kaseng family. In 2008, their father was beaten to death by Thai soldiers. In a landmark case, the family is trying to prosecute the soldiers in a criminal court. Today, they are going to hear the judge's verdict. Their father was a local imam called Yapa Kaseng. Like Suleiman, the military accused him of being an insurgent leader. They arrested Yapa and his 2 sons and took them to the grounds of this Buddhist temple, where he was beaten for hours.
Pak, situ tu kita tengok nampak cerak-cerak. Pasal dia cerah berita. Dia nak buat tu. Dia nak bangun pun tak boleh dah. Dia nak jalan pun tak boleh dah. Dia heret. Heret. Dia tu. Lalu tu yang mek besi godel atas kepala. Mek besi godel atas kepala. Lepas tu yang mek kasut dia tu lompat jejak. Dia tak tidur ni jejak atas. Ya terpanggil tu nak pergi hospital. Pergi yang hospital ni rasa dia nyawa tak agak dah. Tulai patah dah nak pergi hospital lah. Lepas tu tahan tu tak ada. Tahan tak ada. Bodoh pukul ni pagi tu ayah mati. Ayah mati tahiba ni. Tahiba duduk ibu ni mati.
The temple still doubles as a military base today, and visitors are not welcome here. But unlike in Sulaiman's case, this time an autopsy was conducted. Imam Yapa's ribs had been broken by blunt objects and pierced his lungs, causing his death. The military initially claimed that he had died of epilepsy, but later admitted the death was caused by beating. The family believes they have a very strong case.
Salah tu dia betul salah. Dia segok. Kalau tahan wak betul salah. Supaya nak jadi contoh pada laki-laki tu. Aku tak suruh jadi semacam ni. Orang lagi.
An hour later, the court delivered its verdict. The case was dismissed. The judges said they had no jurisdiction to rule on a military matter.
Sini dia kena hantar pada sanahan. Buku hantar pada sanahan. Hantar kepada sana. Sana ni tak terima. Sana sini.
Even if the death of Sulaiman Nessa had been investigated, it would probably have reached the same legal dead end. And the message to local Muslims would be the same. Soldiers are above the law, whatever their actions.
The emergency decree has been in effect in southern Thailand since July of 2005, and Section 17 of that decree essentially codifies immunity from prosecution for officials who have committed to human rights violations in the course of their duty. And so this law in and of itself runs counter to the government's claims that it's taking action against these individuals because it has a legal out for taking no action at all. And again, the justice record bears this out when there's been no successful prosecution, no conviction of any official for a human rights violation in the South.
The military is now at the height of its power in Thailand. Attempts to rein in its abuses have gone nowhere. But as southern Thailand shows, this impunity feeds into a cycle of mistrust and anger that only prolongs the conflict.
So this is entirely counterproductive to peace in the South. It allows insurgents to recruit more members. It allows insurgents to radicalize youngsters. And we end up now with a cycle of violence and retaliation that insurgents claiming to take actions as a form of justice to get even with the Thai authorities. And then we have rogue elements in the Thai authority who would then come out hunting down Muslims to seek revenge for their fallen friends. And this will never end.
Last month, the Thai government announced it was suspending emergency rule in one district of Pattani province as a test case for the rest of the Muslim-majority South. The decree, which gave broad powers and a measure of legal immunity to the military, will be replaced by the less severe Internal Security Act. But for now, the strict laws are still in place across the rest of the region, with 30,000 troops and paramilitaries battling an unknown number of insurgents. 2 policemen and 1 civilian have been killed since the start of this year. Well, that's it for this edition of People and Power. If you'd like to comment on this film or any other matter, we'd love to hear from you. Do get in touch on aljazeera.net/English. Until next time, bye-bye.